Hello, everyone, and welcome to Riverside Theatre's Backstage Chat, a podcast where we get to talk to some of the talented artisans and staff who work on and around our stages. Led by producing artistic director Alan D. Cornell and managing director John R. Moses, Riverside Theatre is the only professional theater on Florida's Treasure Coast. Today, I'm delighted to speak with friend and very talented Adam Schnell, the director of dance education at Riverside, but also the artistic director of Ballet Vero Beach. Hello.
Yes, always an identity crisis with me, Oscar.
Now, we're recording this just before the Riverside Dance Festival begins this year, where you bring professional dancers to teach and to be with dance students. Tell us about the festival and what prompted you to create this program.
Yeah. So a lot of people don't know this, I have worked for Riverside Theatre since the summer of 2001. Mm-hmm. So everyone can do their own math on that one. I've been around a long time. And when I officially came to town full-time in the summer of 2009, I took over the dance education program, was sort of molding it to a closer vision of what dance classes and dance education should be at a professional theater with Riverside's caliber. Like, what genre should we be teaching? What kind of skills should we be imparting on the kids for them to potentially go on in theater or dance or, use those skills for life? And I noticed, less with the theater students and more with the dance students, that the aspiration sort of ended with graduating high school, right? My parents say this is a nice hobby for me. Like, right. It's something to keep me off the streets, the mean streets of Vero.
You don't think of it as career?
No, no one was thinking of it at that time in terms of career. So the former education director and John and I sort of sat down and said, okay, what can we do? And I knew of 3 or 4 or 5 small companies that could use extra work in the summer. I said, well, let's do sort of Riverside's version of a summer dance intensive. Sure. Let's bring a company in. They'll work with the kiddos for 2 weeks. The kids will get up close and personal with a lot of professional dancers, a different company every summer. The company can perform, make some money for Riverside, and it just sort of kind of shot off from there. We wanted to inspire young people to think that dance and the arts could be a career, and they could move beyond what the idea in Vero at that time was, is that it sort of starts with high school. Maybe my parents let me minor in college, as provided I'm getting my pre-med degree or whatever it is. And it did that. It has all these years continued to accomplish that goal, I feel. And
this is the 13th year.
Yes.
And you brought some incredibly wonderful professional companies. Yeah. Just name a few, and then we'll talk about the one that's coming this year.
So over 13 years, last summer we hit 10 companies, because we had obviously everybody had to change a little during the pandemic, but it has been going for 13 years, 10 companies. Everything from Los Angeles Contemporary Dance Company, Chicago Repertory Ballet, an amazing hip-hop contemporary dance company from Chicago called Crash, companies from Atlanta, Miami, several from New York. So it really, right here in Vero Beach, we really have represented dance in a unique way with different voices from all across the country.
And how do you select? I mean, this is your world. Right. You've been in the dance world for
quite a while. Yes, forever. Let's just say forever.
So you know a lot of the players. Yeah. You know a lot of the companies. So a lot of these companies are new. So how do you select what you bring to the dance festival? So
it started out, and I really was just reaching into my personal contacts. People I know who had started companies, who needed sort of a leg up, if you will. Mm-hmm. Exactly. And very quickly, 4 or 5 years in, I had exhausted that. So we basically put out an application process, and we've done that several times. And each time we do it, we sort of get a collection of 3 or 4, and then we arrange them in a way that we think will be meaningful, not only for the students but the community. Because I really try to give gaps between companies that are sort of a similar aesthetic, right? If you have like a really gritty modern dance troupe one year, you don't want a gritty modern dance troupe the next year. Because again, going back to the purpose, we want young people to be able to sort of see the whole gamut of what the dance world is. And it's not just one thing. It's not just ballet. It's not modern. It's not jazz. It's so many different things and so many different ways that you can be a part of it. And then that translates for the public audiences that get to see the companies perform as well. You really never know what you're going to get from summer to summer.
And each, like you mentioned before, each troupe has its own voice, uniqueness to it, and you're asking them to impart that knowledge to these students.
Right.
New techniques, new way of movement, maybe new creative ways of putting things together.
And it's really, for a lot of these troupes, it's a new way of working. When I start working with a company, it's usually 2 or 3 years in advance before they start to get here. And the application sort of includes them saying, okay, what's your artistic vision? What makes you unique? But then also, what would you do with this program? And they're like, wait a minute. You're not going to tell me which classes we're going to teach, and you're not going to ask for specific rep for us to perform. And the whole point is for them to really use their voice and be able to kind of say who they are. And that always resonates with the kids, because then you're getting the professional dancers teaching the genres that they're really passionate about. And you're getting, the artistic directors bringing repertoire that they really want audiences to see. So it sort of crackles, I like to say a lot of things around Riverside, like crackle, like, the curtain goes up on a main stage, you're like, oh my gosh, something amazing is going to happen. We try and replicate that in the dance program. There's that energy that's sort of uniquely Riverside, and I think it comes from, we're trusting these companies to come in, but as an organization, we really put a lot of trust in the artists and staff to do what they know how to do and do it well.
And we don't know that these companies have the experience in teaching younger up-and-coming performers. They deal with people of their own sort of level. And so it could open a whole genre of creativity and excitement that they hadn't even thought of.
Well, and folks who are, really paying attention to what Riverside does is we actually, in May, a couple months ago, we brought back as many of the companies as possible that are currently operating. And first of all, that was really special for me, because all of these people that I had met separately or had known separately are all of a sudden on stage together, and that was like, wow, this is really cool. But time and time again, they were saying, especially some of the ones that were younger when we brought them down here, like maybe 3, 4, 5 years old, they're like, no, this was transformational. This taught us what we wanted to be as an organization coming to Vero. We wanted to fold in education programs. We wanted to make sure that the repertoire meant something. We were so impressed by, how supportive the audience is and the Riverside staff was. Also, I have to give a shout out to the production department, because it's not easy to deal with different artists all year long, let alone, here comes Adam again, bringing so-and-so dance company that wants to, put a pile of rocks upstage left that needs to be lit in a perfect amber. But one of the things that they say time and time again, and a lot of the companies that came back in May said, we still try and look for the quality of production department that you guys enjoy at Riverside. And these are companies in New York, LA, Chicago, we're pretty fortunate here for the people that we have. Absolutely. And, I try and sort of prep the companies each year to say, be nice to the production department, because if you ask them for a pile of rocks upstage left to be lit in the purple, they're going to spend hours doing it. So let's just keep it to the level that it needs to be and not go crazy and everything like that.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you that I have so enjoyed watching all the different troupes in the past and what they brought to the stage, the uniqueness, the energy, the passion for dance that is palpable in an audience. So I can imagine from a student perspective who's working with them day in and day out for 2 weeks, what it means to them.
Yeah, and that's why I always try and encourage, and I know we're going to talk about the dates and everything of this year's festival, I try and encourage audience members to really get the full experience. You need to come see the company, but you also need to come see the student showcase, because these kids have been working 10 to 6 for 2 weeks with these artists. They're sore, they're tired. The choreography is brand new on them, usually never been done before, and you all of a sudden, And I can never tell which is the best way to see it. See the company first and then the student showcase, or see the student showcase and the company. But all of a sudden you start making this connection going, wow. Oh my God, I get it. I get what that company is about, because I see the professionals that have been working with them for a while, but what they were able to do with those students from age 10. Like we started age 10 for the dance festival. In 2 weeks.
That's great.
Yeah, never enough time around here.
So talk about, the Riverside Dance Festival this year, 2024, runs July 22nd through August 3rd, which is the performance day. Tell us about the group that you brought this year.
So you were talking about creating families and like the connections within the dance world. I have been aware of the artistic director, Gabriel Lamb, for quite a long time. She is, I might use the word, a prolific choreographer. She's internationally known, not just for her career, but for her choreography. And in 2016, she started a company called Pigeon Wing Dance. And I've been sort of looking at them for a while. Well, it turns out a couple of our friends who run a different company who have been to town several times, Converge Dance, also dance for her. Yeah. So the last time I saw them before they were down here in May, I said, can you give me Gabriel's email address? And they said, sure, why? I'm like, well, I want it. They're like, oh my gosh, that would be amazing. So this was not a case of where I really had an application for Pigeon Wing. I reached out to Gabriel. I said, listen, I don't know what stage you're in with the company. This is kind of what we do. If you're interested, can you sort of write about these sort of points? What do you guys do with kids currently in education? What do you do with community engagement? And what type of rep would you like to bring? And again, this was two or so, maybe almost 3 years ago, starting to work on this with her. And it's really exciting because when I let the artistic directors loose, to sort of figure out what rep, 2 to 3 years is a long time to know. Well, she sort of said, well, I'm working on this full evening length work. Mm-hmm. And it's going to have live music with a really good classical trio. And immediately I was like, oh my gosh, because that's hard to make work all the time. We've only done it one, I think maybe 2 other times in the history of the festival. I was like, great. And then she told me it's all in response to sort of humanity's dependence on the oceans. Mm-hmm. It's called Rising. So there's an element of, what are we doing here, people? And I thought with Vero and us being so close to the water and having so many environmental nonprofits in town, I thought it was perfect. The amazing thing is keep it quiet, we're getting the world premiere before it goes on tour. So she's like, well, how's the production department at Riverside? Going back to that, I'm like, well, they can do whatever you want. She's like, well, I'd really like to workshop the lighting and everything like that there and sort of do the world premiere before we take it on tour. And I was like, cool, let's do it. So it's sort of that kind of happy accident, one company leading to another, an artistic director having an idea and us being able to execute it while still working with local kids. We've got almost 20 this year. And also being able to partner with Riverside and Ballet Vero Beach's engagement partners. We've had men from Camp Haven come and watch a dress rehearsal. Mm-hmm. I just got a request for free tickets for all of the staff at Pelican Island Audubon Society. Fabulous. So that they could come see. It's hard to sometimes put into words all the little tendrils that these programs have, but it really does come back to the fact that, as an organization, and why I consider myself to be incredibly lucky to continue to be affiliated with Riverside, is that you take that sort of nugget, gold nugget or jewel, that diamond of artistic quality and integrity, and it just sort of shoots out from there. So I'm really excited that Pigeon Wing's going to be the 11th company. I'm not sure yet, but I have a couple for the 12th company, so we're already working ahead on that.
Very excited to see them. Very excited for them to come and see what the kids can do with their tutelage. The student showcase is Saturday, August the 3rd at 2 o'clock.
Yes, and that's a free show.
Free show, no tickets required. However, if you really want to see Rising and Pigeon Wing Dance do their incredible repertoire, it's part of the Ballet Vero Beach 24-25 season, and they perform Friday, August 2nd, and Saturday, August 3rd at 7 o'clock.
At 7 o'clock.
So it's Friday at 7 o'clock, Saturday afternoon for the kids, and then Pigeon Wing again on Saturday at 7 o'clock.
Yeah, and we'll have both on Riverside and Ballet Vero Beach's website, we have the trailer for Rising, because everything's brand new. The movement, the costumes, the score is brand new, but you get to see a really unique insider's look as to what has been put together so far. And for me, it's really exciting. It's just, I never thought when we started the program that it would take off the way it has, but we'd have companies from all over. They've brought rep that is unique that you can't see anywhere else. Some of it by master choreographers who Ballet Vero Beach hasn't even been able to bring the rep yet. So, it's a wonderful way to spend an evening, and I highly encourage checking out the kids as well.
Go to riversidetheatre.com or balletverobeach.org to get all the information on the festival, the tickets, the group Pigeon Wing Dance. Yeah. So everyone's very excited. Now, here you are, the director of dance education and the artistic director of Ballet Vero Beach. What prompted you, I should say, to create Ballet Vero Beach? I mean, you've toured the world, you've been on stage, you've been behind the scenes. What? And I don't mean
possessed you? Yes, no, it's a good question.
You're a very talented and very busy person, so you're adding a lot more to your plate. And let me tell you, the community benefits greatly from that.
Thank you. I think that I've told the story several times, and I never wanted to be an artistic director. I never wanted a ballet company. It's an incredible amount of work to run any arts organization, let alone start one from absolute zero. And we did start Ballet Vero Beach from absolute zero. No money, no bank account, absolute zero. I will say the only thing that we had going for us is we had an amazing friend in Riverside Theatre. And I'm not kidding. The first benefit was here. We were able to strike an amazing deal that, like, well, you're not paying if you sell tickets. We'll take a percentage of tickets, but we don't want you to go into debt before you even start. So that was literally, I should stop saying absolute zero. I should say we started from nothing, but we had Riverside Theatre. There you go. Let's service mark that one, Oscar. So I got done dancing, or I retired from dancing at the ripe old age of 28 in the summer of 2009.
Which for a dancer, that's sort of midlife.
Midlife. For a male dancer, it's starting to be the point of where you would think about retiring, especially if you've done a lot of partnering like I had, lifting, carrying people around the stage. Sure. It does a lot to you physically.
Your body is your instrument.
Yep. So. And it breaks down and you can't get a new string like you can for your violin. You can, but it doesn't last in the same way. So I think I mentioned earlier, I'd worked at Riverside since the summer of 2001, choreographing shows, teaching, dance, just sort of getting to know the organization. And when I was getting ready to sort of hang it up, I was in a company that I was very happy to be in. However, the new artistic director had just hired a bunch of 19-year-olds, and they all had so much energy. And they were so excited to be there. And I did not have that much energy. Okay. I was still excited to be there, but I looked around and I said, I don't want to be taking a spot from someone else that really wants it. I said, I've been fortunate, over a decade, all over the country, internationally. I did what I wanted to do, so I was starting to think about, like, okay, maybe it's time to go back to school. I don't know what it is, but it's not necessarily this anymore. So I was home on a break from dancing. My parents had bought a house here. They've been here since 1998. And I, made an appointment with former Riverside Education Director Linda Downey. And I said, hey, I'm thinking of retiring. And I think I might land in Vero. And she said, please take over the dance education program. And I went, okay, I got a job. Like, this is great.
This works.
So I moved here with my husband, Camilo, and he's a Riverside dance education, longtime faculty member. He's he's Ballet Vero Beach's ballet master. And there's this line from this great movie called The Turning Point. I'm sure you know it, Oscar. I don't know the whole audience knows it. Shirley MacLaine, Anne Bancroft, and Shirley MacLaine saying, "Oh, I'm just gonna, move to Oklahoma and teach a bunch of klutzy kids and enjoy my life. Thought I was gonna move here, teach some kids, and enjoy the beach." So a couple years after we get here, Camilo, looks at me and he said, "Oh, but don't you miss working with professional dancers?" And I lost my mind. I was like, "Do you have are you trying to kill me? Like, what is wrong with you? We're just settling into not this, oh, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. Just focus on the kids, teach the classes."
Touring and everything.
But then I thought about it, unfortunately, and it sort of rolled around in my brain, and I saw the amazing work that Riverside does in theater. We have the Museum of Art, we have classical music, we have opera. I was a little saddened that we didn't have concert dance, right? Because it's different. I love a main stage musical here at Riverside more than anyone. I think the dancers are phenomenal, especially tap, because I don't tap. When we do a tap show, I'm in the audience, yeah, it's so amazing. But concert dance, it's a different animal.
There's something special about the movement of a body and the way it expresses itself.
And I'm not putting it above any other art form, but to truly be recognized as a, town or a county for the arts, we should really have all arts represented. And so I started thinking about it, and I kept thinking about it, and I put together a tiny board. And I said to myself, "Oh, you got to go back to grad school for arts administration, because ain't nobody going to be handling the business but you for years and years and years." So I did that. And it actually sort of came together right after the first Riverside Dance Festival, because people in the audience saw the professionals, saw the kids, and said, we should do this.
Yes.
So that sort of pushed me over the line to get our nonprofit status and everything like that, and to plan our first benefit here at Riverside. And that was over 11 years ago. It's still the hardest job I've ever had. I won't say who, but I've talked to some senior staff here at Riverside. And we talk about, whether it's that old "the show must go on" mentality, but it's totally different from being on stage. You have to get up every day, whether you feel like it or not, and grind it out. Whether it's donations, whether it's marketing, whether it's publicity, whether it's coming in and working with the dancers and staging.
Coming up with programs.
There's so many things that, when we are just an artist, whether it's a dancer or an actor or a singer, we don't necessarily think about, even though it's all around us and we see it.
Your focus is the performance.
It's very different.
Your focus is now a larger picture.
And it's so funny. I think that people, even, small business owners or large business owners, people think you get into being the boss for the ego. And I will, as much as anybody, admit I'm a human being. I have an ego. I like to be feel proud of myself. But you very quickly learn that it is absolutely not about you. And if you make it about you, you are destined to fail. And it's funny, a lot of nonprofit colleagues in town and a lot of arts colleagues in town, we've talked about that. On the outside, people think, "Oh, you make the curtain speech and you wave your little hand and you have your champagne toast and it's just so wonderful. Look at this." No, absolutely not. And especially once you get to, the size of a Riverside, or even now the size of Ballet Vero Beach, I'm responsible for people who have moved here to work full time because of what I did.
Yes.
And all of a sudden you're like, "Oh, wow, we lost that grant. Oh, this is not cute anymore. This isn't just a side project." It's wonderful, and I consider it a huge privilege and an honor to have this platform. But I think if I could impart one thing to people who are looking at the bosses, especially in the arts out there, and thinking it's just all wine and roses, it's a lot of thorns. A lot of thorns.
Well, you've done tremendous things with the company. You have created programs, new works. The community has embraced you. We love the energy that you personally bring to the company, and it really is showcased on what is on that stage.
Thank you.
So kudos to you, and here's to 50 more years of doing that.
I'll be 93.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
I don't know if that would be amazing or terrifying, Oscar.
I think that would be.
Let's poll the audience. Terrifying or amazing to see 93-year-old Adam like, hi, everybody.
There you go. I think that would be amazing. But even with all the stresses, with all that's on your plate with regards to Ballet Vero Beach, you still run the dance education program here at Riverside, and you teach every type of dance for
Not
kids.
Not tap, but everything else I can teach.
Well, you personally.
Yeah.
But the program still does tap.
Absolutely.
So you teach everything from little kids to adults. We want to make sure that adults realize that they can take dance class.
And that, honestly, Ballet Vero Beach is wonderful. I'm so proud of everything that we've done for the community. But one of the things that I am most proud that I've been able to do since being in Vero full time is, and again, it was all with the blessing of the staff at Riverside, is to make an adult dance education program. It goes back to what we were talking about with the kids graduating high school and going, this is it. It's not it. There are so many people in this town who danced as a young person, danced as a young adult, or even have just always wanted to put on a pair of tap shoes and make some noise. And honestly, there have been years where our adult program is better enrolled than our student program for the kids. And you were saying there's something about moving the body and moving to the music. It really makes me, it's always made me smile to see the kids learn to dance, but it really makes me smile to see some of our adult students sort of like, well, I did ballet when I was a kid, so I'm going to take the beginning adult ballet class. And then the next quarter, they're like, can I do hip hop? And the next quarter, they're like, can I add jazz? And all of a sudden, they're just like the kids that like their mind is blown about how much they love this. And I think
keeps you agile. It keeps your mind agile as well as your body.
But that's also why I love, just in general, our adult education initiatives here, whether it's the dance program, whether it's the Backstage tours, like, Oscar always finds me on the Backstage tours, and there's always one adult that is like, this is the coolest thing ever. Like, you know what? There's that person on every tour. It doesn't matter how big. And I always like sort of catch eyes with you. And, the Backstage access programs that Kevin teaches for adults, going sort of behind and in depth in the shows, I think it really speaks to, in the arts, we're always trying to learn something new. We're always trying to figure it out. And it's so apparent, in every aspect of the organization at Riverside, from the very, from Alan and John all the way down to, we got to figure this out. We got to do this better. We want to learn about this. We want to do something more. It's so cool to sort of have had a front seat to see us opening that up to adults in the community as well.
Sure. Absolutely. We are running a little short on time, so I won't ask you how you began your life in
nobody
dance.
Cares.
However, I will tell everyone, if anyone is interested, go to the balletverobeach.org website and click the Our Company section, and you can read Adam's life story right there, and you can be inspired. You can be inspired how this young kid from
a
the
tiny
Northeast,
town in Vermont.
Yeah.
No, I'm really lucky, and that's one of the things that why I continue to do what I do, because Vero is not unlike where I grew up, or 20 or 30 years ago. Vero was a lot like where I grew up. And I feel like I don't care where you live. People deserve to be inspired by great art.
Absolutely.
So thank goodness we have all these organizations here to do that for us.
And you are part of those great organizations.
Hey, you belong.
Well, everyone, I want to encourage everyone to please go to riversidetheatre.com for information on the 2024 Riverside Dance Festival performance. The student performance showcase is Saturday afternoon, August the 3rd at 2 o'clock. And then the professional company Pigeon Wing Dance will be performing for Ballet Beach's
Ballet Vero Beach's season opener.
Season opener, August 2nd and the 3rd, Friday and Saturday at 7 o'clock.
Yep.
Tickets are required for that one, but not necessarily for the student showcase. So please go to riversidetheatre.com or balletverobeach.org to get all that information. So Adam, thank you so much for spending some time talking and sharing your knowledge and your excitement and possibly your vision of the future for Ballet Vero Beach with our audiences.
Yes.
So thanks again.
Relaxing on the beach in the future, Oscar.
Yes, there you go. 93. And thank you everyone for listening to this episode of Riverside Theatre's Backstage Chat. Until next time, I'm Oscar Sales.